Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Radio's outstanding theater of thrill, Suspense, just 6 years before this final show would occur on September 30th, 1962. This episode from July 3rd, 1956. Ben Wright starring in this episode from 66 years ago, entitled The Music Lovers. We thank you for tuning in. On this Sunday on the show, this is, as I said, the third day of July. It is the 184th day of the year, 181 days remaining. Commander-in-Chief George Washington on this date in 1775 took command of the Continental Army at Cambridge, Massachusetts. In 1819, the first savings bank in the U.S., the Bank of Savings in New York City, opened in 1819. In 1839, the first state normal school, teachers' colleges, or the forerunner to today's Framingham State College, opened with 3 students. Dow Jones published its first stock average on this date in 1884. Happy birthday, Idaho. You were admitted as state number 43 in 1890. The Veterans Administration, created by Congress in 1930. And on the first anniversary of U.S. and UN involvement in Korea, President Truman answered critics who called for the removal of our troops in 1951.
The young men in Korea and Japan are fighting for time for us. There's always an emphasis on the casualties in Korea. Of course, when there's fighting, there are casualties. But did it ever occur to you that if this necessity with which we are faced is not met, that the casualties in Korea will be one small drop in a bucket?
President Truman saying the fight in Korea will continue. Puerto Rico's constitution approved by Congress on this date in 1952. That's because it is a U.S. territory. Jackie Robinson became the first African American to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1962. President Carter signed the first directive on this date in 1979 for secret aid to the opponents of the pro-Soviet regime in Kabul. In 1986, President Reagan presided over the relighting of the renovated Statue of Liberty.
We are the keepers of the flame of liberty. We hold it high tonight for the world to see, a beacon of hope, a light unto the nations. And so, with joy and celebration, and with a prayer that this lamp shall never be extinguished, I ask that you all join me in this symbolic act of faith, this lighting of Miss Liberty's torch.
The 4-day event in 1986 that was called Liberty Weekend celebrated the full restoration of the Statue of Liberty. On this date in 1988, Navy warships USS Vincent shot down Iran Air Flight 655 over the Persian Gulf. 290 people on board were killed.
We believe that the cruiser USS Vincennes, while actively engaged with threatening Iranian surface units and protecting itself from what was concluded to be a hostile aircraft, shot down an Iranian airliner over the Straits of Hormuz. The U.S. government deeply regrets this incident.
Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral William J. Crowe, Jr., saying commanders were being fired upon by units on the ground and the airplane outside the prescribed commercial air corridor. Passing away on this date in 1971, The Doors' Jim Morrison.
Jim was buried in a simple ceremony with only a few friends present. The initial news of his death and funeral was kept quiet because those of us who knew him intimately and loved him as a person wanted to avoid all the notoriety and circus-like atmosphere that surrounded the deaths of such other rock personalities as Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix.
The news of Morrison's death on this date in 1971 came out long after he had passed. Also passing away on this date from the TV show Medical Center, James Daly, Ross Martin, singer Rudy Valley, actor Jim Backus, who had so many wonderful roles, including Mr. Magoo and Thurston Howell III on Gilligan's Island. Joe DeRita, who was a very, very funny man. Also Boots Randolph and Andy Griffith. And every time I see that name, I don't necessarily think of the Andy Griffith Show. I think about his comedy recording. What it was football. Born on this date, George M. Cohan, you're a grand old flag. Czech writer Franz Kafka. Dorothy Kilgallen, a well-known newspaper writer and columnist, but quite frankly, she's best known to Americans for What's My Line? The fact that she was investigating the Kennedy assassination still expected to be part of the reason why she passed. The passing still considered accidental, but many people believe it was deliberate. Also clarinetist Pete Fountain, soul singer Fontella Bass, Rescue Me, Johnny Wilder Jr. from Heatwave, If You Want a Boogie, 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 Boogie Nights, and Laura Branigan, who was such an amazing singer. Born on this date in 1957. She died in 2004, way too young. From the Mod Squad, Michael Cole, 82 years old today. Writer Dave Barry, 75. From 8 is Enough and Carrie, Betty Buckley, also 75. You remember WKRP in Cincinnati? You remember the cute Bailey Quarters? Jan Smithers, 73 today. Country singer Aaron Tippin is 64. Tom Cruise enjoying his latest Top Gun movie, doing well. He's, over $10 billion in box office sales worldwide. Cruise, 60 years old. And the voice of Lisa Simpson, Yardley Smith, 68. Tommy Flanagan from Sons of Anarchy is 57. From Becker and Anger Management, Shawnee Smith, 53. From Private Practice, 52 years of age for Audra McDonald. Kimmy from Full House, Andrea Barber, 46. And actress Olivia Munn is 42. Those just a few of the people celebrating the 3rd day of July as their birthday. And if this happens to be your birthday...
Hi, we're the 4 freshmen, and we just want to say, Happy birthday to you!
Ben Wright, starring in an episode of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense, The Music Lovers, from 66 years ago, July 3rd, 1956, on this Sunday, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, on your favorite station.
You ever make a change and then think, why didn't I do this years ago? Well, that's how people feel about switching to Medishare for their health care, especially now with inflation the way it is. People are very happy with the savings. Most families save about $500 a month when they switch. It's a huge help when prices are going up so fast in so many other areas. And Medishare's customer satisfaction rate is double that of health insurance. It's just a different experience, and people really like that. Medishare is an alternative to health insurance. It's a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills, and it's been going strong for over 25 years. It really is the gold standard, the most trusted name in healthcare sharing. Find out why people love it, find out why they rave about the customer service, and find out how good it feels to save some money right now. They're super easy to talk to. Here's the number, 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE, 833-34-BIBLE.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, one of the last real great Classic Radio Theater shows. In fact, the last. It went off the air September 30th, 1962. This is Ben Wright, starring in The Music Lovers, an episode of Suspense.
And now, tonight's presentation of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. Tonight, we bring you a story of intrigue and ideological murder. So now, starring Mr. Ben Wright, here is tonight's suspense play, The Music Lovers.
Any word yet, Mallinson?
No.
Where's the car?
Around the corner. Walsh is listening in.
What's the matter?
Oh, bit of the pip, you know. Schoolboy's boggy. Achin cough.
Oh, you taken anything for it?
Everything.
No, too bad.
Just got a standby from Sergeant Flint, sir.
Good. Shove over, will you? It's cold standing out here.
1A. 1A. Grey Saloon, Armstrong, Sidley. Number plate LXB 574. Proceeding west on Arrow Road. Just past Hazel Road intersection. Am following. Over.
Let me have it, will you?
Here you are, sir.
To all cars, this is car 1A. Form roadblock at Scrubs Lane and Harrow Road. Flint, how far away is he? Over.
About half a mile, sir.
Right. If he turns off, let us know. Out. All right, jump on, Mallinson. Next corner, Walsh.
You know I don't like to stand on the running board, Hendon.
Make you forget the pip.
I'm going to sneeze. Shoot!
Bless you.
Blast you!
Walsh.
Yes, sir.
Park behind that squad car pulling up.
Yes, sir.
Hope he smashes into the lot of us. Serve you right.
Serve him right, too. Well, now all we have to do is wait. Here he comes.
Hold on, you!
It's all right, Mallinson. They've got him. Have a look in the car, will you?
Right.
Let go! Let go! My arm! My arm!
Stand still. That's better. This the man you want, sir?
That's the one. Now, you wish to make a statement?
Ask mine.
Where's Jeffrey Spencer?
Don't know what you're talking about.
Hendon!
Yes?
Would you come here for a second?
What's up?
In there. Back seat. It's Spencer.
Oh? Dead?
I don't think so. But from the looks of what they've done to him, he should be.
He was dying. Slow, sad death. There was no comfort in his leaving. No face or voice of a loved one. Only men in uniform. Strange men who wanted to be kind but couldn't. Jeffrey Spencer was a statistic. Aged 37. Employed by Staines Aircraft Industries. Senior engineer. Associate designer of experimental jet aircraft HX-331. Romanticized as Staines Super Hawk. Jeffrey Spencer. Missing for 6 days. Believed kidnapped by agents seeking classified information on HX-331. A statistic lying in the back seat of a gray car. A beaten, smashed body. Eyes staring up, full of pain, full of tears.
Ambulance is on its way. Is he conscious?
Yes.
Has he said anything?
He can't very well.
Oh.
Mr. Spencer? Can you hear me? Just blink your eyes twice if you can. Good. I will have you in the hospital very soon. Do you know who the men were who did this? Just blink your eyes once if you want to say no. You've never seen them before? I see. They tried to get information from you about the new jet aircraft? Did you give it to them?
Good man.
Do you know how many there were? 5? 4? Uh-huh. Yes. Were they English or foreign? Mr. Spencer? Mr. Spencer?
Close his eyes, will you? Was he very brave or very stupid not to tell them?
I don't imagine he thought much about it at the time.
Excuse me, sir. We've identified the driver, sir. Harold Gibson. Lives across the road.
Oh, yes, I know who he is.
Must have been coming home. Now, what the devil was he going to do with Spencer?
He doesn't say anything, hmm?
No, sir. Bad bargain, this one.
All right. Sergeant Flint here yet?
Yes, sir. He's waiting with the prisoner.
Good.
Look here, Hendon. There's a nice, quiet, empty shop over there. Why not let me take Gibson behind it? I'll find out who the others are.
Don't you think I'd like to do that myself? Come on. We'll see what we can do.
Everything all right, sir?
No, Flint, it isn't. Oh, Gibson. The man in the back seat is dead. He was beaten and tortured, and you're under arrest for murder.
I don't know nothing about that. I didn't even know anybody was back there.
Really? Well, before we take you down to the yard, we're going to find out one or two things from you.
Take my bitter oath you don't.
Huh? Inspector Mallinson, where did you say that empty shop was?
Across the road. Of course, I was there.
Right.
Hey there, what's going on here?
Sergeant Flint.
Yes, sir?
Detective Walsh.
Yes, sir?
This is going to be absolutely against regulations. You understand?
Yes, sir. What are you going to do?
We're all going for a nice walk across the road.
Now, what are you taking me? If I'm under arrest, I got me rights. I ain't done nothing. What are you up to? I won't... All right. All right, but you can't do this. You don't dare put a finger on me. I know the law. I don't know nothing about that guy in the car. It's true, find out. Somebody must have put him in there, huh? Now, what you going to do? You can't hit me now. Oh, you're only trying to frighten me. That's it. A fat lot of good that'll do, yeah.
Flint, Walsh, hold his arm. Stand him against the wall.
Yes, sir. You can't do this. You can't. This is England. I know about you chaps. You can't do this. I'll report the lot of you. You can't do this.
We'll see.
Let go, mate.
Now, loosen his tie and collar button, will you?
Yes, sir.
That's better. Now, Mr. Gibson, I think we're ready.
No.
Well, I want you to have a picture in your mind of Jeffrey Spencer's face when you and your friends were finished with him.
I never...
We'll start with the names of the other men. There were 4 of them, right?
I don't know. I mean, there were.
What was your part in it? Just reaching for a cigarette, Mr. Gibson. You're quite nervous tonight, aren't you? Ever notice where the flame's the hottest, Mallinson?
Oh, yes, I suppose on the...
The cigarette tip's even hotter, though.
You wouldn't.
Now, Mr. Gibson, I'm going to tell you something. You took a chance, for whatever reason you had, to engage in work against a man who had done you no harm and against this country. Another man is dead, and the country, as you know, is in danger. As a policeman, I would be remiss in my duty were I not to at least venture an equal chance to get information from you.
It's against the law. It's against the law.
So is murder. Now, the names of the other men?
Will you let me go? Let me go!
Now, you men are all witness to the fact that the prisoner is attempting to escape. If his arm is broken in the process, it's completely within the law. So,
All right, I swear it. I don't know who they are. They paid me to hang about while they tried to get Spencer to talk, that's all. I was to drive him away when they'd finished.
Ah, that's much better. Now, who hired you for the job?
Chap at the aircraft factory.
Staines Aircraft?
Yes, I was a sweeper. Bloke asked me if I wanted to make a few quid.
You work there too?
I don't know. I never seen him before. Come up to me as I was leaving. It was outside the gate.
Mm-hmm. Well, why should he pick you?
I'll tell you, I don't know.
All right. Where did they take Spencer?
Place in Bronsbury Road.
Number?
58.
You get that, Flint?
Yes, sir.
Who owns the house?
I told you I don't know. I never went inside. I just hung about like I was told till they wanted me.
Yeah. Can you describe the man who hired you?
I don't know. Tall bloke, about your size. Thin, had a scar on the back of his left hand. He talked like a gent.
And where were you taking Spencer?
I was going to leave him by the railway goods yard. They said he was dead anyhow.
July 3rd, 1956, Suspense on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Radio? Why should I advertise on radio? There's nothing to look at, no pictures.
Listen, you can do things on radio you couldn't possibly do on TV.
That'll be the day.
All right, watch this. Okay, people, and now when I give you the cue, I want the 700-foot mountain of whipped cream to roll into Lake Michigan, which has been drained and filled with hot chocolate. Then the Royal Canadian Air Force will fly overhead towing a 10-ton maraschino cherry, which will be dropped into the whipped cream to the cheering of 25,000 extras. All right, cue the mountain. Cue the Air Force. Cue the maraschino cherry. Okay, 25,000 cheering extras. Now, you want to try that on television?
Well...
You see, radio is a very special medium because it stretches the imagination.
Doesn't television stretch the imagination?
Up to 27 inches, yes.
She was born in a humble shack amidst the lemon groves of Goleta, California.
Mommy, don't cry. You know what they say? When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. I was gonna say life sucks, and then you die. But I like yours better.
And with that, Alexandra Johnson launched her lemonade stand.
Lemonade, nickel a glass.
Every day, even during the frigid California winters, a bone-chilling 72 degrees, you could find her.
You can have it sour, you can have it sweet. Little girl's lemonade will knock you off your feet.
The little girl with the sour brew wanted more, national distribution, franchises, and so she rolled out a well-budgeted advertising campaign.
Me and the rest of the dockworkers only drink little girl lemonade.
She was made president of the International Sour Drink Association and chosen to give the keynote speech at their convention.
You all set with words of wisdom, honey? You know what they say, Mommy. Always advertise so consumers think of your product first. I was gonna say never swallow a lemon seed or a watermelon on your tummy.
This fabricated but interesting story is to remind you that it's called advertising and it works.
Put your message on this national advertising platform by emailing classicradiotheater@gmail.com. classicradiotheater@gmail.com. On this Sunday, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, we're listening to an episode of Suspense, The Music Lover, starring Ben Wright, as it was broadcast Tuesday, July 3rd, 1956. In the newspapers of that Tuesday 66 years ago, these were some of the headlines. Angry Polish workers staying home by the hundreds and staging slowdowns to protest bloody government crackdowns reported yesterday to have threatened a new general strike in troop-ringed Poznan. At the same time, the communists admitted unrest had spread to Polish coal fields and warned the miners that any Poznan-type revolts would be beaten down without mercy. The new signs of rebellion came as almost 30,000 Polish troops and police moved to wipe out the anti-communist underground in a giant operation that stretched 100 miles from Poznan to the East German border. At least 100 suspected rebels were reportedly arrested. The federal government moved yesterday to intervene in the steel strike, which had idled 650,000 United Steelworkers and also forced the layoffs of thousands of railroad employees. Steel and coal handling railroads posted furlough notices as the two-day-old walkout began cutting into steel-dependent industries. By the weekend, 30,000 railroaders will join United Steelworker members in idleness. Rivers and Great Lakes transportation systems also hit. U.S. Mediation Service Director Joseph S. Finnegan arranged separate exploratory meetings with United Steelworkers President David J. McDonald and U.S. Steel Corporation Vice President and the industry's chief negotiator, John A. Stevens. Officials predicting the Lake iron ore boats will be tied up at their docks at least 2 weeks. The river barge industry has also taken a big hit. Coal miners will not return from their annual 12-day vacation until July 9th. The automotive and steel fabricating industries report adequate steel supplies to maintain operations for 30 days or more. Secretary of Defense Wilson yesterday ruled out any new speed-up in B-52 bomber production, but said an extra $800 million will be voted by Congress for warplanes to be used when needed. Wilson telling the Senate Air Power Investigating Subcommittee, "I don't intend to recommend that the additional funds be impounded. They'll be treated like any other funds that we get and will be spent when needed." And rock and roll singer Elvis Presley teamed up with Steve Allen Sunday night to topple spectacular show Ed Sullivan from his throne as the top crowd drawer. With Presley's appearance, Allen's show got a 20.2 Trendex rating against 14.8 for Sullivan. The Allen-Sullivan feud started 2 weeks ago when Allen took over the NBC show aimed at squashing Sullivan's lead. NBC has edged Sullivan out 3 times in this TV season. Sullivan summing up his feelings over Sunday's demise in a one-word telegram to Allen: stinker. And those some of the day's top news stories as reported in the newspapers of Tuesday, July 3rd, 1956 on your radio Suspense, which continues now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
You know, Gibson, in a way I'm rather sorry you decided to talk. It would have been a great pleasure to... Oh, take him away, Walsh. Get him down to the yard.
Right, sir. Get a move on, Gibson.
Minding and no rocks again there. Mr. Ironmite going to hear all about this. Wait and see. You too, you're going to hear.
Oh, we're going to be in for it all right when the commissioner gets wind of this.
No, not we. Just me. I wanted you to help. You didn't do anything.
Would you have done if he hadn't talked?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Well, as it is, I'm going to offer my resignation.
Oh, no, sir.
Oh, don't be an ass.
3rd degree. Ever hear of it?
Well, you didn't hurt him, sir.
Questioning under duress, the same thing. Oh, well, let's see if I can get this cleaned up first. Now, what was that address, Flint?
58 Bronsbury Road.
Well, they wouldn't be fool enough to hang about after this.
I know, but we can have a look. We had already known a number of things about Harold Gibson. Among them, the fact that he was employed by Staines Aircraft Works. The fact that he was a member of a subversive group which, up to that time, had engaged in nothing more physical than the passing out of pamphlets. However, Special Branch had learned, after the kidnapping of Jeffrey Spencer, that this group was immediately involved. We'd put a close watch on Gibson, believing that he might lead us to the kidnappers. What we didn't know when we arranged for his arrest was that he had picked up the body of Spencer from the address on Bronsbury Road. Somehow he must have given our men the slip. Inspector Mallinson, Sergeant Flint, and I drove out there. We took 2 squad cars with us, and I had an idea that we were going to find number 58 Bronsbury Road vacant. But I was wrong.
Pretty swank looking.
4 cars. Lots of lights. Quite a party going on.
Nice party. They don't fool about when they play murder.
I've got the other men posted behind and outside the French window, sir.
All right. Ring it again, will you, Mallinson?
Oh, yes?
Scotland Yard, Chief Inspector Hendon.
Yes?
May we come in, please?
I don't understand. Was there something the matter?
A great deal, sir.
But I'm having a little music. My friends. I think you've made a mistake.
Oh, this is 58 Bronsbury Road.
Yes?
Who is it, dear?
The police, Jenny. I can't imagine.
Don't leave the door open, dear. There's a draft. Won't you come in, please?
Thank you.
Talk to them in the study, Leslie, and do hurry, dear. Oscar's promised to play Beethoven next. Excuse me.
This way, please.
Oh.
It's really very awkward, you know. I haven't the slightest idea why. Now, what's it all about?
Do you mind giving me your name, sir?
Leslie Addison.
We understand that a man named Spencer has been held in this house for the past 5 or 6 days.
What? What the devil do you mean, sir?
Exactly what I say.
Held here? By force?
Yes.
You must be mad. Well, it's a practical joke. Not very funny.
No, it wasn't very funny for Mr. Spencer either. He was murdered. Beaten to death.
Good Lord. But why do you think that
I don't think anything yet, Mr. Addison. However, I should like permission to search your house, please.
Blast it, all this is terribly embarrassing.
I'm sorry.
What are my guests going to think?
I haven't the slightest idea, sir.
Well, I suppose it's your duty. Do you mind waiting a moment? I'll call my wife. She'll take you upstairs. And for heaven's sake, don't wake the children.
Sounds as if our friend Gibson was lying to save his skin. I think we made a bloomer, old boy.
Do you? I don't.
Oh?
Gibson said a man approached him outside the aircraft works, remember? Tall, thin man, about my height.
Oh, yes.
Have you noticed the back of Addison's left hand?
No. No, I didn't.
I did. Nasty scar on it. The man who hired Gibson had one, too. Mr. Leslie Addison.
You are listening to The Music Lovers, tonight's presentation on radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
July 3rd, 1956, Suspense on this Sunday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox here on your favorite radio station.
Are you suffering with arthritis or osteoporosis? Do you have diabetes? Did you know that these are just 2 of the hundreds of diseases that have seen improvement with Dr. Wallach's incredible longevity products? You can't get them at a health food store. The only way to get them is to call us at 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Do you have heart disease, fibromyalgia, or high blood pressure? Do you have a terrible time losing weight? Dr. Wallach can help. He was a veterinarian and cured diseases in animals. He felt that he could do the same for humans, so he became a physician. Over 50 years of research and helping people like you goes into every bottle of Dr. Wallach's amazing discoveries. Do you want to feel better? Learn how to treat the cause of your problem rather than covering up the symptoms with drugs. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065.
On Monday's Classic Radio Theater, an episode of the mutual program Murder by Experts, an episode from July 4th, 1949, that's 73 years ago. The episode entitled Two Coffins to Fill, the story of a man who decides to kill his rich wife, but it seems all his plans backfire. That'll be coming up on Monday's Classic Radio Theater. And, of course, if you don't have us on Monday, you can always find us at classicradio.stream or through many of the other places we'll tell you about after this show. After the conclusion of Suspense, I should say. The Music Lover, starring Ben Wright, 66 years ago, July 3rd, 1956.
And now we bring back to our Hollywood soundstage Mr. Ben Wright, starring in tonight's production, The Music Lovers. A tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
58 Bronsbury Road was a pleasant house, quite large, with all the evidences of comfort and children, which would deny that such an incredible and foul murder had been committed within its walls. I left Flint and Inspector Mallinson to search the downstairs floors, and with Mrs. Addison went up the staircase. The whole thing seemed quite impossible. This rather tall and lovely grey-haired woman, the music in the drawing room floating after us. But I kept thinking of a scar on a man's hand.
I suppose you want to look into all the rooms, Inspector?
Please.
My husband tells me that you think a man was murdered here.
Quite right, madam.
This is my son's bedroom. I'll put on the light. But please make as little noise as you can. He's asleep. Only 9, you know.
Of course.
Would you mind telling me what you expect to find, Inspector?
Where murder has been committed, Mrs. Addison, we look for anything that may help us in a solution.
Oh. My daughter's room. She's 13. A likely age for a murderess, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. That door?
My room and my husband's. You'll find no skeleton in that cupboard, Inspector. Now, don't you feel rather silly about this, Inspector? If you've made a mistake, we shan't laugh at you. We shan't report it either.
That's very kind of you, Mrs. Addison.
It's utter nonsense. You don't think for one moment if Leslie had done this awful thing that we should have allowed the children to be here, do you?
The very fact that he might have done it at all seems to make the qualifying element rather academic.
Hendon!
Yes?
Something down here!
Right.
I hope you don't mind if I return to my guests.
Not at all, madam. We may have to join you in a little while.
That would be extremely impertinent of you.
Police, crime, arrest. They're all impertinent, Mrs. Addison.
I find your manner unspeakably rude. Both my husband and I have tried to help because we thought this was an important police matter. We shall report it to the Commissioner in the morning. As soon as you have finished your ridiculous search, I must ask you to leave the house.
You know, I wouldn't be at all surprised if that lady turns out to be the leader of this mob.
Pretty cool. What have you found?
Oh, down this way.
We were quite convinced by now that this house harbored the core of a fanatic group whose seeming harmlessness made their operations all the more dangerous. Mallinson led me to a room at the far end of the house, a room which was soundproof. But we knew that when we closed the door and the sound of the music was completely obliterated.
Looks quite inoffensive, doesn't it? Desk, a few chairs, books.
Yes, it does. What did you find?
Well, they're pretty careful to get rid of all traces of Spencer's residence in here. But they missed something. Look at this, on the carpet.
It looks like impressions of a cot or a couch.
That's what I think.
The kids don't even know he's in here. They can't hear a thing outside. What a charming couple.
Oh, lovely parents too, I'll bet. Kiss the children good night, and then come down and tear out a fingernail or two.
You know, the awful thing is that they think that what they're doing is right. And they pass the poison on to a 9-year-old boy and a 13-year-old girl. Hello. Did you see this?
What?
Yeah, under the desk. They should have watched him more carefully.
It looks like a stain, a copy or tea or something.
Yes, it is. Convenience stain. Spells G.S. See? He left his calling card for us.
Jeffrey Spencer. That does it.
Right. Oh, this is going to be a nice thing for the kids upstairs. Mother and father arrested for murder and treason.
Yes, well, maybe it's better for them now than later. What the devil are we going to do with them?
Well, we'll take them along and then investigate relatives. If we find somebody with a healthy mind, perhaps they'll take them in. Come on, let's get it over with. We left the soundproof room, and I shut the door on a modern scene of Inquisition. There were 8 people in the drawing room, including the Addisons. It was an extraordinary tableau. Music, warm winter fire, brandy glasses, friendliness of an upper-middle-class home. And the people, the only dissonant note. They watched us come in, wary, perhaps a little frightened. And as I looked at the faces, I wondered how many of them shared the guilt.
Are you satisfied now, Inspector?
Yes, thank you.
I'll see you to the door.
Mrs. Addison, will you please wake up your children and get them dressed? I'll wait.
I think this has gone far enough. Leslie, ring up Scotland Yard.
There's no point to it, you know. Now, if you have any feelings at all for your children, you'll make it as easy as you can for them.
How dare you invade the privacy of my home? Come out with this frightful accusation. I've never...
We have proof that Jeffrey Spencer was held prisoner in this house, and that you vainly attempted to extort government information from him. He died from the injuries you inflicted. All right, now, everyone in this room is under arrest. If you're not involved, you'll not be charged.
The fascist British police. I knew we'd live to see it.
Did you, Mrs. Addison? Why, that's odd. Because I hoped that I would never live to see what I'd seen here tonight. Paid spies, living your lie in comfort with everything you condemn. They're worse than the people who hire you. Someday we'll exterminate the lot, and when we do, perhaps a kid like yours upstairs will have a chance.
You ought to pass out tracts on a street corner, Inspector. God and country.
Quite worthwhile reading matter, I think, sir. Flint, ring the yard and ask them to send a van here, would you?
Yes, sir.
Suspense, in which Mr. Ben Wright starred on tonight's presentation of The Music Lovers. Next week, Suspense will be heard at a new time. Be sure to check your local newspaper and join us when we again bring you another presentation of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. Suspense is produced and directed in Hollywood by Anthony Ellis, who also wrote tonight's story of Suspense. The music was composed by Renee Garrigank and conducted by Leith Stevens. Featured in the cast were Richard Peel, Bill Shepard, Irene Tedrow, Raymond Lawrence, Stan Jones, and Hans Conried.
Hans Conried, a pretty good actor, but by and large, I remember him most for his comedy. An episode of Suspense, Ben Wright starring in The Music Lovers, July 3rd, 1956 here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thank this station, support their advertisers. Visit my webpage, classicradio.stream. You can stream our shows on demand anytime there. Learn more about classic radio collecting. You can find out where to download our shows at other podcast apps. And you can also contact me there at classicradio.stream. Thanks for tuning in. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.